Welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm your quantity over quality. That's not what I meant. Host Madelyn.
I'm your quantity and quality host, Emma.
I totally said it backwards too. I was like,
you did.
I'm oh man. Editors, fix it.
Nope. Sorry.
Rearrange my words.
I removed some ums and some awkward pauses, and that's about the extent of my editing.
Hire her, folks. And thanks for tuning into the show, everybody. This week, can you believe it? 6 weeks have gone by again. I think I say that at the beginning of every 6-week podcast, and I forget.
To be honest, it feels like longer than 6 weeks this time. But maybe that's just because I have so many games.
That's also true. Can you believe it? It's only been, or it's already been, depending on your experience of time, 6 weeks. And so that means
yeah, it's been 6 weeks. That sounds right.
Someone out there's like, no, that sounds about right. So it's time for us to talk about what we've been playing in this spring turns to summer time of year, which is apparently meant for me playing a lot of the same games, and for Emma playing every game that has ever been released.
You know, it helps. I played a lot of, short things is the thing that's boosted my numbers here, so.
I spent plenty of time playing games. They were just the same games. But because Emma has so many, I'm going to force you to go first.
Okay.
Kick it off. What have you been playing?
Well, I'll kick it off. I finished Nier Replicant in these 6 weeks.
I was wondering if that was in this 6 weeks. You're right,
I'm pretty sure I finished it 2 or 3 days after the last 6 weeks podcast.
See, that's always a bummer. I really try to structure my gaming around our shows now. So
it was still a lot of content. I did endings C through E, I think, since our last one.
Fair enough.
So yeah, I really enjoyed Nier Replicant. Ultimately, I still think I like Automata better. I think it's probably the better game. I see why people like Replicant better, and I think that I like Automata better for the same reasons. The characters, I will give Replicant this, the characters are a lot stronger. Ultimately, I think that's kind of by design, right? Automata's a lot more abstracted, I think.
Automata has approximately 5 characters in the whole game.
When I'm saying the characters are stronger, I mean, the main 4.
Fair enough. I was including, that was still kind of what I was counting in. I was like, Pascal's a main character.
Yeah. No, but I think the Nier and Kaine especially, I'll call him Nier, even though you can name him, but the protagonist, and Kaine, I think especially are very, very well-written, strong, well-realized characters, I think. And that's one thing that I think Replicant has over Automata in spades. So some spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the new ending E. I'm going to talk about it vaguely, the way I felt about it, but I am going to spoil endings A through D, or parts of them. So there's your warning, if you care. But Replicant does the same sort of trick as Automata does in its B playthrough, is that it gives you, context for the enemies that you're fighting, right? Some of which just is given to you, outside of the characters you're playing. Some of which is justified by, the perspective characters, special abilities, right? 9S is a hack unit, right? So there's special things he gets to see. And in Nier's case, even though you don't play as her, although I do wonder if it was the intention for you to play as Kaine in the second playthrough, and then they were like, no, that introduces too many design problems because she can't go in villages, which would cause issues. But you're technically playing from Kaine's perspective, and because she's possessed by a shade, which is one of the enemies that you fight, she can understand the language of the shades. So you get translations for what all the shades are saying as you're fighting them. I found Route B to be a bit heavy-handed, a little bit. I think is the issue of why I don't like Replicant as much, is that I felt like it was standing over my shoulder, are you sad? Do you feel sad? Are you sad yet? And maybe it's because I did all the side quests in the first route, and so I was just doing story back to back to back to back, and it, like,
not enough time to breathe.
Yeah, it just felt like a lot. So yeah, it didn't really. And I can't like point to anyone in particular, and it was like this one was the one that made me feel like it was too much. It's just like all of them together. But anyway, ending C, the routes C and D are pretty much the same, minus like a couple of changes. And then in ending D, you get the special, now patented erase your save data thing. Which I didn't understand why people were like, I think Nier Automata is a pretty hopeful game in the end. And they would give all these articles like Yoko Taro's like, I never meant to make Nier so melancholy. And people would be like, oh ho ho, Yoko Taro, you know?
Yeah.
But having played ending D of Nier, I understand why people thought that was funny. Because that's a downer of an ending. It's just Nier, like, perpetuating the same mistakes that he's made through the entire game by sacrificing himself for someone who doesn't want him to do that for them. And then ending E, I think it really completes the game. I really don't think it would be anywhere close to Automata without ending E. Because it's so good. In fact, if I was going to do, like, a weird play order, like, if you're like, where should I start in this? Which is, the real answer is, whichever game you want. But the Emma patented answer is, play endings A through D of Replicant, then play all of Automata, then play ending E of Nier Replicant.
That's funky. You're going to have to put a play order thing from the Peckett sisters in this blog, by the way. It
feels like that's like the thematic progression. A lot of ending E in this feels like it's really carrying on the ideas that were explored in Automata. So it feels natural that way.
So it takes you into the PlayStation 2 memory card screen.
No, not quite. Not quite like that.
But
anyway, I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. I'm glad that I got to experience it.
Are you disappointed that the characters from Nier, the original, don't get a Fall Guys skin?
You know, I really think Emil is a more natural fit for Fall Guys.
The big head I feel like, has to cause issues.
I guess so. I guess so. I also feel like the little robots in Automata they're Fall Guy shaped.
I mean, that is natural, but also deeply boring.
I know, Yoko Taro just wants to put 2B in everything, so.
I mean, rightly so, she looks really weird.
Should I do another short one? I don't know.
Please.
Okay.
Double or nothing.
Another one I finished. I finished Odin Sphere, which I've talked about briefly on... It's Odin Sphere. It's not Odin's Sphere. Which I always forget. Not that it really matters, because it sounds the same.
Isn't it Odin's Sphere? It's Odin's Spear?
Sphere.
Like a circle, but 3D. Yeah. Okay, good.
But it doesn't have the possessive.
It's just Odin Sphere.
Yeah. Also, I don't know why it's called that, even after playing the whole game. There's a guy named Odin, but I guess his weapon is spherical?
It's a dope name.
Whatever. It works. Technically, the PS4 version's subtitle is like Lifeheiser or something, so.
Just keep piling it on.
I had a good time with Odin Sphere.
What is Odin Sphere? Can you explain what this game is to me one more time?
Okay, it's kind of like a fairy tale story. You've got these 5 protagonists. You play through all of their stories one at a time. And it's all about, like, the events leading up to, like, this prophesized end of the world, right? So you get to see, like, what's leading to that, as well as, like, go through these characters, like, arcs, and turns them into, like, you know, heroes or whatever. Although it is a little funny, it felt like every time I switched protagonists, they would start, like, earlier in the timeline, which was a little weird, but also funny, because... Okay, the third character you play is Mercedes. She is a fairy princess who becomes a fairy queen. And her whole arc is, like, becoming, like, a strong queen for her people. Okay. Right? So her last stage, there's this war against the Valkyries, and she takes back the ring that controls the cauldron. And the cauldron's like a deus ex, it's a MacGuffin. that's like it can suck phosons out, and the fairies need phosons to live, so they want to control it so nobody will use it, right?
Phosons, go on.
They're like life energy,
That's
basically,
fine.
like nature energy.
I gotcha. I'm rolling with it. Phosons.
So she gets this ring back, and that's like her cumulative moment, right? She's like, I have become queen. I've become a queen worthy of my mother. And I'm sitting here like, oh dear, I played Cornelius before this, and in the middle of his story, about 5 minutes from now, he's gonna mug you and steal that ring from you. So it's kind of undercut a little bit, this like triumphant moment she has. I'm like, in like 5 minutes, a little buddy man is gonna come beat you up. Take that from you. There are also definitely parts of the timeline that I could look it up and try to understand it, but I think it's funnier to just accept that I don't know what happened. Like, one of the characters, Ingwe, at the beginning of Mercedes' story, he's a frog, and I cannot figure out when he turns into a frog. I don't know. I don't understand where it fits into the timeline. So I've just accepted that he was a frog at some point, and then he stopped being a frog.
That's bold narrative design. Game development challenge. Turn one of your characters into a frog at some point with no explanation.
Considering that Ingwe is like the same size as the other character sprites, a lot of the other characters are like big as compared to your characters. And also is like a thiefy boy with a dagger that none of the other characters are. I'm kind of curious if he was supposed to be playable and they ended up cutting him for time. But yeah. It would have been fun to play as a frog for a bit. I mean, you can turn into a frog. It's a status effect. But yeah, anyway, I had a good time with Odin Sphere. It is fun. It's very pretty. Yeah, it's good. Like it.
Well, nice.
Your turn.
2 games about round things.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the round game segment of Talk This week. Okay, so I'll start off with, I may have started off with this game last time, but guess what? I'm still playing it. More Skyrim. That's right. I've really finally embraced my inner 16-year-old boy and just dove into Skyrim. In contrast to the other major game that I will talk about this time, spoilers, it's Yakuza 6. Skyrim, I feel like I have really not latched on to the story of at all. I'm really enjoying my time there, but I'm like level 50, which is a high level. I've been playing a fair bit of Skyrim, and I am like, I only just did one of the first story quests. Part of this was because, and I may have mentioned this last time, I don't remember, I had an early and traumatic encounter with a snowy saber cat that was on...
I think you did, yes.
Yeah. So this, took me off of the path of the story path early on to level up because I could not get past this diabolical cat. And since then, it's like I've done a few story quests. I just did one where we like snuck into... It's a little weird, so I'm playing as a high elf, but everyone's like, F the high elves. And the high elves are like, who are you? And I'm like, yo, the racism here. There's a lot of it. Not as bad as the, like, there's one of the king's children that wanders around or the Jarl's children that wanders around one of the palaces always says, her line is always, oh, there's no good sweet rolls in this skeever hole of a city. And it's like, you know what? Not quite as fire as that. But there is a lot of kind of like, oh, you all don't love elves. Anyway, so I barely advanced the story. Frankly, I find myself caring very little about the overarching story. Like, it's about killing dragons. I've done plenty of killing dragons, even apart from the story.
It doesn't seem like the story is necessarily the point of Skyrim.
Yes. So I've just been spending a lot of time doing side quests and, like, filling up my map with little icons of, like, places I can go. So overall, probably for the best that I did not, that, late high school into college was a light video game time for me. Because I'm not sure I would have achieved very much aside from that had I been playing any amount of games. like, I look at my schedule and I'm like, where would I have time for that? And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I could have just not done my homework or something like that. So probably for the best that was a video game light spell for me in my life around the time of Skyrim coming out.
Yeah.
Let's see. I try to think about some like memorable quests, or gripes. Here's my first gripe. Why are spells so loud?
Is it like the sound mixing is bad?
No, it's that you have to level up a certain perk tree a bunch for spells to be quiet. So my invisibility spell usually leads to people finding me because it makes a sound when I cast it.
Oh, it's loud in the game. I understand now.
Yes.
Okay.
I complain. This is a complaint.
It does seem a little silly that your invisibility spell is loud.
And my muffle spell.
That's so funny.
It's like, dang it. I can't even use it. It's like I only use the invisibility for sneaking. I'm like, what's the point if they're going to be able to find me anyway?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's my big gripe with the game. I also saw a mammoth jump like 100 feet in the air. Fun little glitch. I was just like walking around in the sky, mammoth flies
How do you
up.
know it can't just do that? It's just a flying mammoth.
I'm pretty sure. So when I walked by it, there was then a dead mammoth there. There was also a living mammoth. So I don't know if it jumped in the air and then died upon impact, or if there just happened to also be a dead mammoth.
Schrodinger's mammoth.
Schrodinger's mammoth, indeed. Skyrim, it's definitely the glitchiest, crashiest modern game that I've played. I think that's fine. I'm still having fun. But any game where I cared that much about story progression, or where I hadn't finally trained myself to do, a ton of quick saving, because the checkpoint system is inscrutable, it would be a bummer. And it's already a bummer sometimes. Because it freezes not infrequently. But, a lot of good fun quests. As Josh recommended, the kind of Daedric God quests, the Dark God quests have all been quite a bit of fun. I helped a bunch of the people of Skyrim fall in love. That was lovely.
Lovely.
I got thrown in, led a prison revolt. And I'm the leader of the Warriors Guild, the Companions now. Arbitrarily. And a werewolf, because we're all werewolves at the Companions.
Good.
So I'm really enjoying it. I think it'll probably be good for me to take a little bit of time off from it, as I, leave my PlayStation in Clickbait Boyfriend's capable hands while I visit home. Mm-hmm. Because... yeah, it'll be good to come back and maybe feel more motivated to move towards story progression, so I'm not just playing this game forever.
Or you could play it forever.
It's true.
It does seem to encourage that.
Yes. Well, did they announce any new Skyrims at the...
I don't think so. I don't think they did. They talked about the Elder Scrolls Online, I think.
Well, forget that. VR Skyrim has got to be... yeah, Skyrim will...
there's got to be VR Skyrim already.
I know, but that they will truly re-release it for VR when VR is, a little more there.
True.
But yeah, enjoying Skyrim. Would still recommend. Think it mostly holds up here in 2021. Especially if it's it's kind of a low-key game to be able to play. Which is nice. You don't ever have to worry about stumbling into an hour and a half long cutscene.
Yeah.
So I'll throw it back to you.
Alright, I think I'm gonna knock 3 quick games out. Pretty quick games.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, okay. I've been going back to playing Hades a little bit. I tend to play it while I'm listening to the episode over again before it goes up. Not that this isn't live.
When she's listening to the episode again.
Yes.
You already admitted you cut out the ums. The illusion has been broken.
I do it with my editor magic. So I've been doing a lot of the post-game content for that. I've unlocked a lot of the hidden aspects of the Infernal Arms, which has been fun. There's some weird ones, in terms of, like, gameplay mechanics. I just got the aspect of Lucifer on my gun. So, that's fun.
Devil gun.
Did you know, in the Bible, Lucifer uses a gun. A laser gun, in fact.
It's canonical.
I also tried stealing Charon's gold for the first time.
Oh, don't do that.
He murders you.
Yeah.
Wow. I got him
did
pretty.
beat him once.
I got him pretty close, but like it was in like the first. It was in Tartarus, so like I didn't have any like special stuff yet. And he does damage when he hits you.
Yeah. I remember that. The first time Josh did it, oh boy.
He gets so mad. And then everybody now has been like, what were you thinking? I think both Hypnos and Hermes have been like, what's up, man? Can't do that. But I've been enjoying doing some of the post-game stuff for that. Been progressing slowly through everybody's stories and everything like that. Nectar should be easier to come by in the end game. I wish that was the case, but otherwise. Let's see. I also
Should I play
have
Hades, by the way? I kept meaning to. I was like, oh man, I watched like 80 hours of this fall. Like, I need a break, and then I'm gonna play it. And I kept thinking like, oh, I'll play it when I go home.
Yeah.
And of course, that did never happen. I was like, oh, I'll play it when I go home for the holidays.
Well, you can play it when you go home now.
I know, but should I? Is it too late for me?
No, it's fun. It's a good time. You could wait and get it on PlayStation now if you wanted. It's coming out in August.
Why would I buy it? I already have it on the Switch.
I don't know. Let's put it out there. Let's see. I've also been... You might remember way, way back, I was playing Kentucky Route Zero on my PC. But as we've established, I can't finish games on my PC. So I now have it on PS4, because I got the limited run version. And I have been replaying it. And I've just gotten back up to where I left off in my PC playthrough, because I decided to just replay it from the start. Because this version also has all the extra, like, interlude stuff that they release between chapters, so I have been playing those as well. It's very good. I really like it. You would like Kentucky Route Zero. I remember saying this to you when I was playing it on PC.
Guess what's on my Steam that I bought on a sale, like, over a year ago and I haven't played?
It's very theater. There's literally an interlude that is just a play, so, like, it's very good.
Yeah, man, I've seen the Shakespeare scene in Nier Automata. Like,
it's not quite like that.
Done.
But I'm really excited to now get into stuff that I haven't seen before in the main acts. So that'll be for next time. Hopefully I'll have finished it by next time. And then the last game in this little bit is I started World's End Club, which is the first collaboration between Kodaka of Danganronpa and Uchikoshi of Zero Escape at at Kodaka's new company. And I think it's really funny because they just like made a very comparatively pure game compared to their other ones about like kids and friendship, and there have been multiple musical numbers so far. So it's very good. It's mostly a visual novel with some very light like platforming elements, and the gameplay is, not gonna lie, pretty jank, but in kind of like a silly way. Like there's just this point, they did this on purpose. So there's this point where there's like an earthquake and all of these pillars are falling, and all of them have fallen like straight towards you.
Of course.
Right? So you just wait in front of it until it falls, and then you walk on, and then you wait for the next one to fall, and then you walk on. And then the last one falls diagonally backward, where they know that you'll be waiting for it to fall, and murders you.
That's funny.
It's like, and it's fine because it doesn't take that long to reset, and it doesn't reset you very far back, and now you know. But it's just like a little funny thing that's like, we knew you were doing this.
Like, we hate you, gamer.
But yeah, it's very cute. It's got designs from the Pokemon designer, I think the modern Pokemon designer, which you can really tell. They definitely look like Pokemon characters. And yeah, I recommend it if you like visual novels, if you like musical numbers, if you like, you know, friends in the apocalypse being friends together. I know I said it was comparatively light, but yes, it's still the apocalypse. So
I mean, it's called World's End Club, so I don't know what you were expecting.
Yeah, the original title was actually Death March Club, which I think they just thought, no, this doesn't really fit the tone. But basically what you're doing in the game is you're going from, like, the very south of Japan, I can't remember exactly where they were, back to Tokyo. So you're marching, like, 1,500 kilometers, I think it was, back to Tokyo. So that's kind of what that's about. But yeah, enjoy it. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. I've been kind of saving it because it's on the Switch and I can take that home with me. So,
well, that segment, with maybe the exception of World End Club, it's that segment is games Madelyn should play. It hasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you would like World End Club, but Danganronpa's coming to Switch now.
I know.
That was weird in the direct. I've just been seeing the one tweet going around being like, you're watching the Nintendo Direct at E3, and then a familiar voice says, Danganronpa. And then the next tweet from the same person is just like someone sitting on the stairs with the heads in their hands. Anyway, it's back to you.
Okay, well, it's my games I played for the show segment. Number 1, Haven. We have not returned to this one yet. I think we will. I feel I enjoyed it enough that I will want to go back and play it. Mm-hmm. It's just that it wasn't like quite grabby enough that it's been able to beat Clickbait Boyfriend being like, can you play Skyrim for me while I do some work?
Yeah.
In our household. So we'll probably go back there. Also, we're just really too busy in Dad Game City here at Talk This NYC HQ. Yeah. Only games about fatherhood.
Yeah, that's how the industry is, right?
Yeah. So we can't do a couples game. We live a couples game. Gotta put ourselves outside ourselves a little bit.
As dads.
Yeah, with dads. I swear that one, and remember the Pathless that I said I would finish and never finished? Definitely this summer. Gonna clear those out. For sure. 100%. Mm-hmm. Saying that, and you can quote me on it.
I will.
We should have pulled us.
I'll pull out some extra special editing just for that.
Wow.
No, I probably won't.
Previously on Talk This in the beginning. Madelyn, I'll definitely finish these games.
Like mounting like horror sting music in the background.
Yeah. So then I also played Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, which I did play a little more of since the show, and I think I will continue. I've not reached the point where I really know anything about rice farming, which is a shame. I'm here to learn, not to have fun. But I am getting a little better at swooping around with my raiment. I'm also realizing, like, Sakuna has a hard time walking straight back when she plants rice. And at first I was like, oh, like, that's a gameplay mechanic. Like, she can't walk straight. And now I'm thinking, wait a minute. Is that just my Switch?
I don't know why your thought wouldn't immediately go to drift.
Well, because it's not, like, super drifty. It's just she kind of veers off a little, and she's not supposed to be good at rice planting. So, you know, maybe she can't walk backwards in a straight line.
Maybe.
So that's something I'll be watching. I've also played it. I don't know if you have this problem in handheld with, like, one of your controllers, like, detaching a little, and then it detaches.
No, I haven't.
Man, I need a freaking Switch Pro. I need to replace my janky Switch.
Come on, Nintendo. Where is the Switch Pro? Where are they?
Like, you know, I'm deluding myself if when Breath of the Sky, or I saw somebody on Twitter be like, you're gonna play as Ganondorf. And I'm like, Okay. Like, that's a cool idea.
You're gonna play as Link, and that's it.
Long-haired Link.
Yeah, luxurious main Link with robot arm, but still just Link.
Tresemme Link. Link discovered herbal essences.
That's what was down in the cave.
When Breath of the Sky, or I don't know, Heartbeat of the Wild, whatever, comes out and it's a Switch Pro exclusive, as it of course should be, right? Frankly, if I was at Nintendo, that game would be required to be a Switch Pro. Let's make the killer app strike twice.
To be fair, Breath of the Wild was on Wii U.
Oh, that's right, it was, wasn't it? That's so
It's
funny.
just that nobody owned Wii U, so
Right.
it could still be the killer app.
Anyway, I'm deluding myself if I think we're not going to have to buy a Switch Pro for that game. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Might as well please fix the Joy-Cons. Frankly, the Switch Pro could just be, it's the same, but the freaking joysticks work.
If only.
And I would buy it. But anyway, yeah, so I'm getting a little better at swooping around with my raiment, too. We're starting to bond with our buddies a little bit. Our foreign friend, I think of her as being Swedish, although of course it's not, like, there's not Sweden or anything.
Yeah.
Had the absolutely raw line of like, oh, I guess the word God here and the word God in my country, they sound the same, but they mean different things. Like, in reference to, like, the purpose of the gods and stuff.
That's true.
And I was like, dang, that's pretty brutal. I'm the only one that gets any food around here, but fine.
Are there any others from your,
Well, bonus little teaser for next time.
Ooh.
Clickbait Boyfriend and I bought It Takes Two yesterday. Because, I don't know, it's a local co-op. I have to support the local co-op game. I was very apprehensive about it because it's the divorce game. And Clickbait Boyfriend was like, you want to play a divorce game with me? Like, don't get any ideas. That's not what he sounds like. So we started playing that one. It's a lot less divorce, like, centric than I expected. They're just bickery so far.
Yeah.
So that's good. I was a little worried about what I was getting myself in for here, honestly. But it's the first hour and a half we've played was fun.
Good.
Not like challenging at all. And fortunately, there's not really any like when you die, there's no penalty, which I think is a great thing for a co-op game.
Yeah. What are your opinions on the Book of Love?
I mean, it's a little weird. He said good advice so far. Collaboration is important.
Sure.
So is... No, I won't say that. Never mind.
Okay.
You know, he's a bold character.
Okay.
He definitely has an accent. I don't know if I should be worried about the, like, like, he's definitely, like, the kind of Latin lover stereotype.
Yeah.
And I also don't know how their daughter bought this book.
Yeah. A little worrying. I didn't know that their kid bought it.
Yeah.
Oh.
She bought the book. The last copy.
Good.
I am a little disappointed to discover that they don't appear to have a dog. It really feels like there should be a dog in this game.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
But we had fun with the kind of the first level and then the hammer and nail level. It was fun. Josh beat me at the whack-a-mole game twice, so we are getting, not divorced, but we're splitting up because of that. The end.
Okay. The end.
It does feel like this game is for people who are like, you played Overcooked with your spouse, and now you're thinking of splitting up. Play It Takes Two.
That's good. That's a good date night time. Start with Overcooked until you hate each other, and then put in It Takes Two. Quality.
I agree. So more thoughts on that next week on the show. but enjoying it more than I thought I would so far.
Good. So for me next, I'll do my the demos I tried section, and also the section where I say, guess what I got?
Oh, I can't believe that you held off on this until now.
It wasn't relevant until now.
Emma, what incredibly inexpensive thing did you buy for yourself?
A PlayStation 5.
Duh. Spill the beans on how you got it. How did you find what was your PlayStation 5 birth story?
I was on from GameStop, the Returnal and MLB The Show bundle. What you do is you keep mashing add to cart. And you don't stop just because it says it's out of stock when, like, you see the tweet about it. Like, when you see someone tweet, like, they're in stock now, and you go there and they're like, no, we're not, because they'll add stock as you keep going. So if you see it's out of stock, you just wait for a couple minutes, and then mash add to cart for a while, and then, wait, and then mash add to cart. Anyway, I got it. I almost sent it to my childhood home. In checkout, because that's still the default address on my GameStop account for some reason, and I was panicking. So, but anyway, it got here. It's very large and very heavy and very white.
Did you post in Slack about it? Did the Slack channel have, like, emotes for you?
I did not. I did not post in Slack about it. I did submit my reimbursement form so that I can get about half of it reimbursed with my games fund. But
did the reimburser go, nice?
No, I haven't gotten it yet. It'll come with one of these paychecks. Yeah, so I tried a couple of demos on the PlayStation 5, and then we'll get to the real highlight last. But I think I'll pass back to Madelyn before that. But I played the demo for Scarlet Nexus, which is like from Bandai Namco, kind of an Astral Chain lookalike. But from the team that does the Tales games at Bandai Namco. It was fun. I liked it. I really wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. It was pretty much like what I wanted Astral Chain to be, by which I mean it felt like Astral Chain except the protagonists talk.
Dig back through the archive for our Astral Chain episode.
I really should give Astral Chain a try again. I was just really sour on silent protagonists when I started that. And I really think it's a bad choice for a game that has as much personality as Astral Chain to have the main character have no personality. Like, even if it was just like it's not like Scarlet Nexus's characters have, like, super unique personalities, but they are there, and they speak and are present, and that's, like, automatically better. So anyway, Scarlet Nexus, there's 2 playable characters, Knifey Girl and Swordy Boy. I don't remember their names. So I tried both their demos. You also have, like, telekinetic abilities, where, like, you sort of go back and forth between using your telekinesis and your melee attacks. You also have team members that you can borrow their abilities by sort of, like, mashing yours with theirs. So, like, if someone has electricity powers, they'll imbue all of your attacks with electricity. Or, like, someone has teleportation powers, which can get you through to areas you couldn't normally get to on the map. Or, like, like, you're just shielded from attacks for a while. Or you can see invisible enemies. Or, like, all these sort of cool, like, temporary buffs that you can get from teaming up with your party members. I think that was my favorite part of the demo, is that's a very cool system.
That's dope.
It's pretty much, the story, as far as I'm getting it, is pretty much, like, pretty standard, like, slightly edgy, sort of shonen anime type tropes, right? Like, it's just, like, sort of that standard stuff, but, like, with a little bit of, like, edginess. But the monster designs are cool, and there's a smug guy with glasses, which is always my favorite character, so. And yeah, it actually got me excited to maybe, I'm still going back and forth on whether I want to buy it or not, or wait for a sale for it. But I do kind of want to get more PS5 games for my PS5. And it used the adaptive triggers, which was really cool. That was my first time hearing the adaptive triggers.
Yeah, how cool. Haptic was it?
Pretty haptic. It like goes vroom when you use your telekinetic abilities, which is cool.
That was matched by the motorcycle outside of my apartment just now. Really, I don't know if Emma's been able to cut that out, but if she wasn't, it was just a haptic sound effect.
Good. Yeah, that's the only way I know how to describe it, is like the controller like goes vroom in your hand when you push the shoulder buttons. It's very cool.
They should put you in an ad. They definitely need an ad for the PS5 right now, but, you know.
Anyway, the other PS5 demo I tried, if you watched Square Enix's E3 presentation...
Chaos!
I tried the Strangers in Paradise Final Fantasy Origins trailer. And you know what? I think this was a genius marketing move on their thing. They're like, let's release this trailer, which looks like the memeiest, weirdest thing in the world, and then release a demo that is corrupted and unable to be downloaded. And then 2 days later, fix the demo, and everyone plays it and says, actually, there's some pretty cool stuff in here. So yeah, I tried it, and actually, there's some pretty cool stuff in here. I mean, the aesthetic's still bad, and I still don't get the man in the t-shirt in the asymmetrical Henley.
I appreciate that there must have been a meeting where they were like, yo, Tetsuya, like, you fine being the lightning rod on this project again? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. Put him in a t-shirt.
I was reading his comments about it, and he was saying, like, it came from several ideas of, like, he was working on one of the Dissidias from, like, 2011, and he was, like, thinking of, like, a Final Fantasy about, like, locations or something vague like that. And then he was like, and then a little time later, I was thinking about a game about an angry man. And I was like, I wonder if a little time later was when they took Versus 13 away from you. If you were thinking about making a game about an angry man. That's just conjecture. And now he's just, okay, so Nomura is the concept creative producer and character designer on this. So he is not, like, the main influence on this game. I'm just putting that out there. But the character design is so funny. Like, they released the renders of, like, the 3 guys they showed in the trailer, and they're just, like, on their way back from the gym. Like, me and the boys going to 7-Eleven at 3 a.m. or whatever. But anyway, it's cool. It's not exactly my type of game, I don't think. It's because it's Dark Souls light, is my understanding. But there's some cool things. Yeah, like Light Souls. There's you find some equipment that you can put on Jack so that he's not just wearing a t-shirt if you really want to. I can't believe that
he's wearing a t-shirt and his name is just Jack.
I know. But there's some cool stuff, like you can use, like, there's this soul shield you do, and there's break gauges, and you can copy some enemy abilities, and you can also, like, change your job instantly on the fly. So I was changing between, like, Lancer and Mage a lot in mine, which is neat. I like that idea. But, oh man, the aesthetic is very PS3.
They came up with the idea in 2011, so...
Yeah. There are also apparently additional party members that they haven't revealed yet. Hopefully there's a girl.
Giant Moogle.
Like, one woman and a giant Moogle. You know? But I'll be interested to see them reveal more of it, just because, like, what is it? You kill chaos. Jack is here in his t-shirt, and he wants to kill chaos. And, yeah. If you haven't seen the trailer, and you're hearing me talk about this, just, like, look up Final Fantasy Origins trailer and watch it.
You could probably Google chaos.
Just Google chaos and watch the trailer that comes up, because it really was, like, the weirdest trailer. One of the weirdest trailers I've ever seen. He just punches chaos in the face with his fist. Anyway, those are the demos that I played. Do you want to give your 20-minute diatribe on Kiryu, Kazuma?
I promise that I won't ramble for too long. I'll say
go. It's the end. It's the end of Kiryu.
Yeah.
Sorta.
Okay. So, for those keeping score, and I only noticed this because I keep a running document of my games I played the past 6 weeks, or at least I have been for the past year or so. And right at the top, in our June episode in 2020, I have finished Yakuza 0. Wait, what do I say? Finished Yakuza 0. I'm fully sold on the series now. That's my note. And we took that very literally, because I just finished Yakuza 6, which, so for those keeping score, like, look, I did start 0, I think, in fall of 2019, and kind of bounced off it at first. But definitely in the past year, I've fully completed 6 of these, I had just finished the 7th one, right at the beginning of that year. So it's been a year, folks.
Yeah. Year of Yakuza.
The year of Yakuza. That's what we'll call it when we look back on this. So yeah, I was like still playing Animal Crossing when I was doing that, so lifetime ago. So yeah, I played all of 6 in this past 6 weeks, which I'll get to the spoily bits in a little bit, but for now we'll keep it pretty spoiler free. Overall, it's a game. It's a grandpa game.
Mm-hmm.
So there are spoilers here. If you want to avoid any spoilers about Yakuza 6, best skip forward now. If you only want to avoid spoilers about the major end stuff, hang out for a bit with me here. So at the beginning of Yakuza 6, well, the end of Yakuza 5, as you might remember, featured Haruka throwing away her dream of becoming an idol, because she didn't want to be separated from her family. Well, it's a shame that Kiryu then decided that he had to go to prison for 3 years, to really cleanse himself of any association with the Yakuza. Insert laugh track here. This whole past freaking game was about how there's no way for him to escape this. He's, there's just no way to escape. But he thinks he can go to prison for 3 years, and then he'll have wiped it away, and then he can, live in peace with his orphans and Haruka. So he does that, and then he gets out of prison, and when he gets out of prison, every other character that you care about is in prison now.
Okay.
So Majima's in prison, Saijima's in prison, Daigo looks to be headed to prison, everybody's in jail. Shinada from last game doesn't come back, Baba from last game doesn't come back, Tanemura still missing. Dante is not in prison, but he is a cop. Sort of. Dante is a cop when it's convenient for him to be a cop. But there's a lot of feeding evidence to Kiryu.
His true passion is helicopter driving.
He didn't show up in there was a helicopter in the final sequence, and Kiryu was like, man, these dang helicopters. Always here. But it wasn't Dante, it was an offensive helicopter. So anyway... So you get out of prison, and you go back to Okinawa, and that was nice. I liked getting to see all of the slightly more grown-up, orphans. That's something that I've appreciated that the series has kind of followed through. Those kids have now been in 4 of the games. It was neat that they, grew up a little bit. Mm-hmm. That was cool. But Haruka is gone. Haruka has been gone for over a year. They don't know where she is. Only then she turns up in a coma in Kamurocho. With a baby. So of course she does.
Of course she does.
So baby Haruto, Kiryu kidnaps, despite Akiyama saying, you really shouldn't do this. Akiyama, the only character who really returns this game, really in a very minor role, says, Kiryu, you probably shouldn't kidnap a baby. You just got out of jail. He also gets turned away from the hospital for being too stinky at first, because he's been living with the homeless again.
Okay.
But Kiryu kidnaps the baby anyway, and based on a tip from Date that there's a location in the one picture they could recover from Haruka's phone, because she got hit by a car, that she was in Hiroshima, in Onomichi. And so Kiryu goes there because he's desperate to find this baby's dad. And of course, promptly falls in with the local Yakuza family. Because he cannot help himself. And gets involved in all of their BS. Because the man cannot help himself. Several people comment on this during the game. They're like, Kiryu, come on. Like, Date and Nakayama are like, you can't be serious that you're doing this. And Kiryu's like, I am. And they're like, you know what? I don't know what I expected. And that's me too. That's me out there like, man, I don't know what I expected. But of course, you're just sticking your nose into a bunch of stuff where it does not belong. Also, leaving your baby with a random bar woman a lot. Just leave it there.
The mamas are, she's a mama. Right?
The mamas of the Yakuza series deserve a gold medal for the nonsense they go through. Anyway, a lot of stuff goes down for a long time, and while I don't overall, okay, so moderate spoilers coming in here, I don't have a problem with what the parentage of Haruto ended up being. And the game was, like, surprisingly mostly cool with, like, 20-year-old Haruka, like, having at least a little bit of a sex life. Like, Kiryu does punch the dad through a glass door when he finds out. But I think that's mostly about running away, not about defiling his sort of daughter.
Yes.
So we appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But I really thought that it would have been fun if the baby was adopted. Because a lot of adopted orphans in the Yakuza series. Thought it would have been neat if Haruka had somehow ended up with this baby and it wasn't hers, but we were going to love it anyway. That's Madelyn's little tweak, number 1. But that's okay, we don't have to do this because, of course, the father is, well, 1, a member of the Hiroshima Yakuza. Sure, par for the course.
Yeah.
2, secretly, he doesn't even know, the son of the Chinese mafia, like the secret heir of the Chinese mafia.
Okay.
Who, he's like the second son, so you can't have that, right? One child policy, so he was sent away to Japan as like an insurance policy in case the real son died, and of course he did. So, this kid is Yakuza royalty, essentially. Kiryu's sort of grandson, also the sort of grandson of the leader of the Chugoku Mafia.
Cool.
So, everybody wants the baby. Also, the Jingwan from Korea are back from Yakuza 2, which I think is really funny because when Yakuza 6 came out, 2 Kiwami had not come out. So who had played Yakuza 2? Freaking no one.
Some people.
Okay, yeah, on the PlayStation 2 in 2006.
Yeah.
For sure. Like blocky face Kiryu.
Some people played that,
I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, the thing we're bringing back is from the game that literally no one knows. That's fun. So, a lot of stuff goes down. Eventually, Haruka wakes up from her coma. Thank God. Why did we put Haruka in a coma? We love Haruka. But in the end, there's a bunch of other, there's all sorts of Yakuza nonsense going on with the Tojo clan, as usual, right? There's like a takeover of the Tojo clan while Daigo's on trial, because, once again, Daigo bad at his job.
Yeah.
And in the end, okay, and so the major spoilers come in here. I assume this is not, you don't care about this.
It's fine, yeah.
I've already spoiled the whole game, so sorry if you did care. But in the end, Kiryu comes to the realization that people are going to keep coming after this baby and Haruka forever because he's stuck his nose into all this stuff and gotten them involved. And so he needs to go and finally kill a man, because Kiryu has never killed a man.
Yeah.
Like specifically 2 men who are involved in the Hiroshima Yakuza scene in order to prevent them from coming after Haruka. And of course that completely backfires, and Haruka shows up there for some reason, like they've kidnapped Haruka, because of course they have, because Date can't hide her to save his life. And Kiryu ends up taking a bullet for her and her erstwhile baby daddy. And everybody thinks he's gonna be fine, but then he's dead. And the credits roll. And then he's not dead. He's instead signed some paperwork that he's going to agree to pretend to be dead in exchange for nobody coming after Haruka and Haruto and them getting some money, and he's going to disappear. because he knew about this, like, secret, somebody in Japanese government was pulling all the strings, and he knew about that, and they needed him to disappear. So they were originally going to just pay him off, and he said, no, actually, I'd like to be dead. Which leads to the iconic line, finally, Majima, Saejima, Daigo, out of prison. Finally, whole freaking game. Would have been cool if they'd showed up somewhere. Instead, we hung out with these random Yakuza. Leads to the iconic line of Majima saying, man, Kiryu-chan, always thinking 10 steps ahead. Kiryu, who has never thought half a step ahead his entire life. But there was a lovely little bait and switch where Kiryu writes this letter in Haruka's hospital room near the end of the game. And it's about how he doesn't think he has the right to call the recipient, to, like, claim the title of father for the recipient. And about 2/3 of the way through, it's revealed it's not a letter to Haruka. Oh, no. It's a letter to Daigo. Sixth chairman Dojima
He is
Daigo.
Daigo's dad, isn't he?
I know he is, but I would have loved one moment of Daigo being competent in this game just to justify this. Because this man, like, the last we saw of him, he was just absolutely blundering things in Yakuza 5. Anyway, this is my ramble about the story, and now let me get to my actual analysis for everyone who is still here. Overall, this was a pretty strong Yakuza game independently overall. The final boss rush was kind of weak, but you were not going to be able to match the kind of, like, absolute balls-to-the-wall energy of, like, 4 people in Yakuza 4 all fighting on top of the Millennium Tower, and 5 people fighting on the Millennium Tower, and at an idol concert, and in front of the Millennium. Like, you were just not going to match that with just Kiryu. That's okay. Yeah. That's fine. You know, no minigame on the level of Cabaret Club, but some solid minigames. It was fun to actually see some tiebacks to Yakuza 0 in sub-stories, which obviously couldn't happen before. So, like, overall, good game. Dragon Engine, fun, like, good stuff. I think as a closer to the Kiryu saga, it is not awesome. Just because, even apart from me, like, starting with Yakuza 0 and being, like, too fond of Majima as a result through the rest of the entire series, it's like, we're really gonna end this with, like, absolutely no time spent with the characters that we've introduced even over the past couple of games. Like, we're gonna put all of them in prison? Really? We're gonna close off some of Kamurocho for no reason the whole game? Really?
I guess the idea for the characters is so that's very focused on Kiryu, but that seems like the only justification for it.
It's just, I was really hoping this game, I appreciated the themes of fatherhood, like, this game was about fatherhood. 5, dreams. 6, fatherhood. And it really did that. Like, that part was well done. All the kind of different types of fathers we saw throughout the game, that was neat. And it brought back stuff from 1 and 2 that made it feel like this was possible. There was just very little reckoning with, like, Kiryu as a father, or Kiryu's experience with his, sort of father, that kind of thing. There literally was a character in the game who, like, or several characters, like, one of the Yakuza bosses was a secret assassin the whole time. And he revealed to some of the Yakuza boys, like, I killed your parents, and because of that, I took special care of you and brought you into my family. That is what happened to Kiryu. That is Kiryu's backstory. He also found it out when his fake father was dying and decided to tell him that in, like, his final breath. Does he say anything about that? No, of course not. Doesn't. He's like, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That actually happened to me. Exactly. Maybe that's a moment of tact from Kiryu, whatever.
There's something really funny about, like, that situation. Kiryu's like, man, the exact same thing happened to me.
But, I also, like, apart from, like, wanting more fan service, which, fine, I'll acknowledge, like, purely self-serving, I did want this game to finally bite into what they've been dancing around in both 4 and 5 and, like, reckoning with Kiryu's legacy in a way that didn't just peter out in a, oh, he's gonna fake his death, but if you think about this for even half a second, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
Kiryu's not the only person who knew about this big secret. They all seem to still be out there. He even turns up at the orphanage to watch Haruto take his first steps. He's right there. The baby looks at him. Kiryu, reckless! What are you doing?
The baby saw him. The baby must now pretend to be dead.
I would have liked a story that was more about really the weight of he really can't escape this. This game did feature Kiryu finally saying, I'm a civilian, but I'm really a Yakuza. I'm more of a Yakuza than you'll ever be. Which I was like, good, he's finally accepted who he is. But I would have liked a game that took a harder look at what he had wrought and the impact that he had. Because people talked about that a little, and it's been a big theme of, like, Kiryu and Saejima in particular kind of together over 4 and 5, being like, we can't escape this, like, our path is kind of set. And the fake death thing, just, it's a cool idea. It kind of had to end with Kiryu dying in some way or another.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it quite landed for me in a way that I like. It was cool for a moment, and then I was like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense.
That's fair.
Okay, so maybe I did ramble about this for 20 minutes. Yikes. But overall, let me think about my final play order recommendation for Yakuza while you talk about your PS5 fun.
Well, wait, have you decided if you're gonna play 7 or Judgment next?
I'm feeling like maybe I should go to 7, but it depends on if it's on a good sale. I know it's on a decent sale right now, but can I get it for $20? Like, will it hit that? I'm leaning towards 7, but I could be convinced to do Judgment, or I could go full wild card and just do Dead Souls.
I'm very excited for you to play either 7 or Judgment, because then I can talk to you about them. You know?
Yeah. Well, coming soon. I certainly won't start it for the next couple of weeks. Maybe I'll even give myself a break entirely for the next 6 weeks. Crazy.
Wow. Crazy.
We'll see. Certainly till July.
Alright, so, the real reason I got a PS5, Moogle Yuffie came to my house and held me at Ninja Star Point until I did it. Yes, so I played, I got the free PS5 upgrade and the $20 DLC, Yuffie DLC, Intermission, for Final Fantasy VII Remake. So Intermission is a scenario that takes place after Cloud falls down into Aerith's church, up to when the plate falls, basically. And Yuffie is doing her own thing in Midgar. Yuffie is another party member from Final Fantasy VII. She's an optional party member in the original game, actually, which I did not know. But I don't think that will be the case this time. Because they've made a whole playstyle for her, and that seems like a lot of effort. So you play as Yuffie. She is here from Wutai, which is like the neighboring country that they were in a war with, right? And she's there to steal the ultimate materia from Shinra, which Wutai has got information that they're developing some super powerful materia. So she and another ninja named Sonon are here to sneak into Shinra HQ and steal the materia. Sonon is a new character in this game.
Not if Chadley has anything to do with it.
Chadley is also a new character. Chadley is the true final boss in the Fort Condor minigame. Way harder than the actual final boss of the DLC. I didn't beat him. I couldn't do it. I spent 40 minutes on it, and then I was like, I have to stop.
It would be wrong to beat him. He's just an intern.
He's not. He's the true boss of this land.
I'm worried about who Chadley's going to become. Anyway, go on.
The DLC is really fun. I loved it a lot. Yuffie is very fun to play as. So the way it works in this, I'm really curious how they're going to bring this into part 2, because it feels very natural when you have just 2 permanent party members, but I don't know how this would work with like 3 or 4 people in your party that you could change at any time. But you don't directly control Sonon. You can tell him to use abilities, and you can also synergize with him, which basically means he'll attack with Yuffie, whatever she's doing. He will also catch you if you are flung backwards, which is adorable. Just throwing that out there. So, and you can also use like special synergized versions of Yuffie's abilities if you both have ATB. So you can like do like this cool like slashy one where you jump on his staff and like murder whatever you're targeting, or another one where he like spins her around to make like a windstorm. It's very cool. The synergized system is very fun. I don't know how they would bring it into like the main game, but I'm very curious to see if they do. But anyway, this DLC also starts bringing in other elements of the Final Fantasy VII compilation, specifically Dirge of Cerberus, which was, I think, the PS2, like, first-person shooter featuring Vincent.
Oof.
The other optional party member of Final Fantasy VII. Yeah, so there's, like, I guess light spoilers. I'm not going to go into, like, the actual story of this, but there's things from Deep Ground is basically with like Shinra's, if you have the soldier program where they make like, you know, perfect soldiers, the Deep Ground program is where they make weirdos. Is where they make Kingdom Hearts villains.
Oh dear.
So there's some elements from that brought into this, which I'm very curious to see how they will sort of incorporate that. It's very neat to see them using all the expanded lore that they've ever made and being like, this is the parts we want to use. How can we bring this into this? Like, if we've established that this exists now, like, what were they doing during the time that we didn't know about them, right? So it's less like retconning and more like, well, we've come up with these things, like, what happened before this happened, you know? It's cool. It's a cool way to approach remaking something. And Yuffie's also just very delightful, and I love her a lot. And I love her Moogle outfit. And if you've played the DLC, you might disagree with me, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some of the characters from this DLC back in the future, including the Deep Ground characters and some of the other ones as well.
But they weren't in the original Emma.
I know they weren't in the original, but I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them back. There's also, at the end, there's a bit of a, like, epilogue, like a transition into part 2, kind of, which is wacky wild. So, I feel like we've talked about this. I feel like I'm in the right, like, fan space for this remake of, like, I know about Final Fantasy VII. I know a lot of the story beats, but I haven't played it in its entirety, and I'm not, like, a super fan of it. So I feel like I'm in the right place to be, like, appreciating the things that they're doing without being, like, but my childhood, you know? Yeah. So in some ways, I feel like I'm the ideal audience that they're making this for.
Square Enix, fly her out to test the game.
Anyway, one last fun thing from this DLC. Yuffie can't see the ghosts yet, the little whisper things that start appearing in Final Fantasy VII Remake, but if you try to enter 7th Heaven, so Tifa's bar, some suspicious wind will push you back from it.
I don't like it.
She'll be like, that's weird.
I don't like that at all.
She's like, no, Yuffie, you cannot meet the characters.
Even just to play darts?
No. What if they see you, Yuffie? You play Fort Condor instead.
You're right.
Square Enix, put Fort Condor on mobile and let me play it all the time. Also, I died to random wolves a lot more frequently than I died to any boss. I didn't die to any boss, but there's like 3 areas where random wolves came and murdered me like 3 times in a row.
That was the popular complaint when the game came out too, I feel like, is the dogs are so hard, and then I didn't experience that at all.
It's weird. I feel like with Yuffie, she's very fragile, right? But very powerful. So you're either like doing like really good, or you're dead. And I think a lot of it is I wasn't using synergizing as much as I should have been, I think, at the beginning. Because once I got the hang of synergizing, just blasting through enemies. Especially, you get, like, this materia. So the thing with synergizing is Sonon's ATB doesn't fill up as fast when he's synergized, so you want to switch it out. But you get a materia near the end where you can do, like, a special move where his ATB fills up when it lands. So you just can stay synergized and just, like, murder things. Just absolutely eviscerate your enemy. It feels very good.
She's broken the game.
She has. She's done it. That's Yuffie's power. Anyway, I also saw some people being like, I don't understand why this isn't on PS4. The reason it's not on PS4 is, you remember like all those squeeze throughs you had to do in Final Fantasy VII Remake? The loading screens, basically, where you had to like squeeze through very small areas for like 5 seconds. There's none of those in this. I genuinely think that's the only reason it's PS5 exclusive.
Put those in just for PS4.
I know. The thing is, like, I feel like you would have to add those in for PS4 or just loading screens. So it feels like they were at, like, the level design stage, and then they're like, there's a PS5 scarcity, and they're like, we're too far. Can't go back and add those loading screens. Or something like that is the reason why it's not on PS4. But yeah, no squeeze-throughs. Those are neat. Looking forward to that in part 2. Yeah,
does that bring us to the end of your games?
That's the end of my games. Those are all 8 of them.
Okay, here's the definitive Yakuza quality ranking.
Okay.
0. 5. I think 4. 4 and 2, pretty close. 1. 6, 1, 3.
Wow, you didn't like 3, huh?
I think 3 really... the story is not as interesting. It's not unlike 6's story, to be honest, but it's not quite as, like, Haruka resonant. But really doesn't benefit from being now the oldest Yakuza game that I have played. That one, like, 4 and 5 do not feel janky. 3 feels like a PS3 game. I think if there was a 3 Kiwami, it might manage to jump up some slots. I was also trying to think of, like, a fun alternate order to play the games. I was like, there is a version of this where you do it like Star Wars style. You do, like, 3, 4, 5, 0, 1, 2, 6. The only problem with that is 3 sucks. Like, I think that actually kind of works in a fun story way, in that it's like, you get to meet a lot of people, and then you go back to the beginning and learn how it all began. But 3 is a really bad game to use as your introduction to the series. It's really PS3.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, extra long episode for you this time. You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. You skipped the Kiryu part, right? So it was not extra long.
Yeah, exactly. Next week we're talking about It Takes Two and Siberia. That's right.
So pack your winter coat.
Yeah.
Get your divorce papers ready.
Look forward to that.
Listeners, thanks for tuning in to this extra long episode of Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
As Emma said, those are our games we're talking about next week. But if you can't get enough Talk This content, you should follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Talk This Podcast. And you should also check out our website, www.talkthispodcast.com. There you can read all about the show, check out the games that are in the hat, and check out our blog featuring long-running series Clickbait Boyfriend and Split Screen. Finally, most importantly, if you never want to miss an episode on Sundays at noon, you should subscribe. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Pandora Podcasts, online and on the app, Overcast, Pocket Cast, anywhere you can find podcasts, you can find Talk This. So we'll be back next week with a main episode. No idea what the side quest is going to be on yet. Should it be on weapon durability?
Ooh.
That's all anyone wants to talk about. But in 6 weeks, we'll be just past when The World Ends With You 2 comes out, so...
Oh, seriously?
Just barely.
The Great Ace Attorney, too, so I will just be on my BS.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Emma, do you want to sign us off?
This week, I hope that you find that PS5 you're looking for.
Click, 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 click.